Thank you for listening to Uncovered Vintage Fashion Magazine Review Podcast.
Uncovered was produced by Morley Schulman, with music by David Renda and logo design by Alan Lipman.
So remember, if you liked Uncovered, be sure to tell 2 friends about it.
And they'll tell 2 friends.
And so on, and so on, and so on.
Hi, and welcome to Uncovered Vintage Fashion Magazine Review Podcast. Before we begin today's show, I'm just going to give a shout out to one of our listeners. Her name is Maria Emma, and she loves Rene Russo. So Maria Emma, here's to you.
Yeah, we happen to love Rene Russo as well.
We love her as well. Now, what movies have you seen of Rene Russo's?
Well, I loved her in Tin Cup. I loved her in the Lethal Weapon movies. So she was great in that. How about you?
I liked Get Shorty, but actually Rene was a model. She was a model starting in the 1970s, and she was discovered while attending a Rolling Stones concert.
Yeah, she was 18. She was 18 years old, Keen. It's almost like Lana Turner, the legend of Lana Turner, when she was discovered sitting in front of Schwab's, in Los Angeles. So it's kind of neat.
Yeah.
So we love Rene Russo as well.
We love Rene Russo, and also you never know where you'll get discovered.
Exactly.
Maria Emma, this one is for you. And by the way, if anyone's interested in checking out some great photos, Maria Emma has her own page on Instagram. She has Maria Emma 1602 and also Rene Russo Lover.
So speaking of lovers, which magazine would you love to talk about today?
So today we're going to be talking about Glamour Magazine, April 1985.
So before we do, we actually have a very special guest with us. His name is Michael J. Maione, and he is the host of the amazing podcast called Micro Break. Michael, welcome to Uncovered Vintage Fashion Magazine Review.
Marley, what a lovely way to say my name correctly. Thank you for having me on the show, and Stephanie as well.
So, Michael, for those who may not be familiar with your wonderful podcast, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about it?
In a nutshell, it's a podcast for humans with the attention span of a goldfish, where I share my thoughts, wisdom, and humor on a wide range of topics, usually delivered in under 15 minutes an episode. Sometimes it's a few seconds over. Most of the time, it's under.
Now, I'm a little confused because you say that your podcast is really geared towards those with the attention span of a goldfish. Now, I did some research tonight before you started, and my understanding is that the attention span of a goldfish is around 9 seconds. So do you go like, hi, it's Michael J. Maione. Thanks for listening to my podcast. Until next time.
Sounds like a bit of an overachieving goldfish to me.
Yeah, it's like the Einstein of goldfishes.
Interesting.
Well, Marley, as you know, you're as technical as I am, and maybe even more so. And there is a speed control on most podcast players. So if you listen to my podcast and you crank that all the way up, you can get pretty close to 9 seconds. No, seriously. I do say somewhere in some script somewhere that I can't really convey anything useful in under 9 seconds. But in under 15 minutes, why the heck not? And that's basically it in a nutshell. Yeah, you're right. You can't. I love how you take it literal. I appreciate that.
No problem. I must have been a lawyer in another life, or either that or just a smart ass. So we were on your show before, and we appreciated that. And we've been asking you to come on our show for a little while now. So I'm glad that your schedule is cleared up. For our listeners, and we would encourage them to listen to yours as well, can you tell us some of the topics that you've covered in the past on yours?
Oh, good question. So the topics range anything from 80s, and it could be 80s music, it could be 80s fashion. We've had guest spotlights, like you guys have been on the show, and that episode is out there. It's doing really well, by the way, because you guys are so famous. And and it kind of takes its own direction. So they're short and sweet. They're always on topic, and the topic is always the title. So you know exactly what you're going to get. You know exactly how long you're going to get it. And it's really based on my life experiences, whatever's ailing me that week, that month, that year. something I can reflect on from the past that people could appreciate now. It's a different take. When I talk about retro, I actually am retro. I lived retro. So when I talk about the past, I get to talk about myself, my own experiences.
Well, let's do that, because right now we're going to be talking about Glamour magazine from April of 1985. And
Cool.
normally I'll ask Stephanie, she'll ask me what we were doing back then. So Michael,
You're up.
You're up.
You're up.
What do you remember about 1985, or if you remember anything about April of 1985?
I remember flashback 1985. What was that song?
I know
Was
that song.
that Blind Melon? Is that the Blind Melon song? Go ahead, Google it.
Oh my God, it sounds so familiar.
And I also, 1985, ironically, and you didn't know this when you sent me material, but 1985 was a huge year in my life. It was the year I graduated high school. That was my I'm class of 85. Woohoo! Thank you.
That's cool.
And in 1985, I probably graduated with a T-shirt, knowing myself, rolled up with a pack of smokes in it, because that was also one of the 2 years of my life where I actually smoked cigarettes. That was it. It was, I think, 84 and 85. And after I turned 18, I quit smoking entirely. So
remember what your plans for the future were?
Oh yeah, to get wasted. That's I was high school was it was an eclectic blend of a nerdy smart guy like me that got with the bad crowd, and I started to get into drugs and alcohol at the time. So if I'm being frank, I was sort of a jerk. I was the guy that got with the bad people to keep from the bad people messing with him. I thought if you can't beat him, join him. So yeah, so instead of being bullied in that, I conformed to stupidity, became a stupid person, and kind of led my life quite a few years after that in a bad way. It was a turning point in my life where I went from smart to barely graduated, and then it got worse from there for quite a few years, to be honest with you. So,
well, it looks like you've really turned your life around, which is great.
Yeah.
1985 was a great year for music, especially April. Some of the top songs at that time were "We Are the World."
I love that. I still watch it to this day.
It's a very catchy song. Now, a lot of our listeners may not realize that Canada also had our version, if you will. You know, the UK had Do They Know It's Christmas? So in Canada, we had our own version called Tears Are Not Enough.
Wow.
And what we did was
I did not know that.
Yeah. So what we did was we gathered all of our top Canadian singers at the time. So it started off with Gordon Lightfoot and then Burton Cummings. So it was like, as every day goes by.
Shania Twain. Sorry.
Excuse me, Corey Hart.
Yeah.
Corey Hart was in there.
So Tears Are Not Enough.
Anne Murray.
If you haven't listened to it, we
Joni
really,
Mitchell.
if you haven't heard it, we really encourage it. Another great song was "Crazy for You," of course, by Madonna.
Crazy for You. Yeah, yep. I remember that song. Wasn't a huge fan of that particular one. Too slow for me.
Yeah, it was definitely a little bit slow, a little bit sucky. There was "Night Shift" by the Commodores.
Gonna be a long night. Gonna be all right on the night shift.
Yeah, that was the first Commodores record I ever bought, because it was a really nice tribute to Marvin Gaye and Sam Cooke and Jackie Wilson. And also "One More Night," you may recall.
Phil Collins?
Yeah, Phil Collins, "One More Night."
That's that old. That song is that old. That still works today. That's
the thing about great music. It's timeless.
It's timeless.
Let's talk about some of the movies that were released in April of 1985 that were not timeless. There was Red Sonja. Remember that one with Brigitte Nielsen and Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Do not.
See it.
Exactly.
Do not.
Okay. How about Girls Just Want to Have Fun?
I know the song by Cyndi Lauper.
So what's interesting, though, about the movie, it starred Sarah Jessica Parker, Shannon Doherty, and Helen Hunt. So great cast. I know. Yeah, great cast.
I've
Wow.
only seen it, don't remember.
A couple more movies were Cat's Eye with Drew Barrymore.
Oh, I remember that movie a little.
And it was based on the Stephen King novel. It was with Drew Barrymore, James Woods, and Alan King, the famous Catskills comic. Alan King, believe it or not.
Sure,
And
I know Alan. Is
Thomas
he
Lee
the guy I can't stop my leg? Or am I getting him confused with somebody else?
His most famous joke, I'll repeat this because I love Alan King. Here's a minimalist view of all the Jewish holidays in 7 words. They tried to kill us. We won. Let's eat. Maybe it's more than 7 words.
Yeah.
Accurate.
And the other movie that came out was called Moving Violations.
Oh, I remember movie.
Oh, yeah.
That was a great
Vaguely.
movie.
Vaguely. If I saw it, I'd probably remember it
Moving
better. but yeah.
Violations starred Jennifer Tilly, who we're big fans of, also Canadian. We talked about her sister, you remember? Meg Tilly.
Meg Tilly,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
And Fred Willard, great comic actor. And remember Clara Peller? Where's the beef?
Oh, of course.
So she was in that as well.
Did you? She was in that. You know, she was in a few movies back in the 80s,
That's
and
right.
it wasn't 1985, but she had a very tiny role in a movie called The Stuff. It was a horror flick. And instead of her saying, yeah, it was like marshmallow fluff
Yum.
that killed you. And
Oh, that's hysterical.
called The Stuff. It's a terrible, terrible, very campy, crappy movie, but she's got this small part in it where she's doing a commercial and she goes, "Where's the stuff?"
Wow. Well, it's funny, what ended her career as a spokesperson for Wendy's was, where's the beef? Where's the beef? She did a commercial for this Italian sauce. I forget the name of the maker of this Italian sauce.
Okay.
In the commercial, she said, "I found it," meaning she found the beef.
Oh, it was in the meat sauce.
Yeah. So Wendy's
Uh,
fired her.
oh, darn. No.
Yeah.
Oh, poor little lady. But she did all right for herself with 3 words.
She started off as
Word.
a stenographer, and then later on she retired, but then she started working again for this casting agency, and she got her big break. It was amazing.
She was adorable.
She was cute. So Michael, I'm going to put you in the spot, and I would like to give you the honor as our guest of
Oh,
talking.
well, before that, let me go ahead and read the headlines.
Sorry.
Okay, from the cover.
Right.
Okay.
I'm out of practice.
So-
We've had guests for the last few weeks, so I'm really out of practice.
So on the cover, we have Kim Alexis, photography by Alex Chatelain, makeup by Joey Mills, who unfortunately has just passed away in the
Rest in
last
peace.
week
Yeah.
or
Oh.
so.
Yeah.
Gonna go
Oh.
ahead and read you some of the headlines.
Okay.
Makeup makeovers. Is this look right for you right now? Prettiest ways to wear the new spring looks. Will he be great in bed? Check his handwriting.
I'm dead.
Honestly,
I'm a lefty.
seriously. A winner's guide to office politics. Open letter to my man. Readers bear all. And then there are a couple of other headlines that I can't read because there's an address label.
Yeah.
So gorgeous cover. What do you guys think?
It's a gorgeous cover.
I don't know why there's no hair credit.
Those
Right.
eyes are painted. I'm telling you, those eyes were never that blue. They were
know.
already using Photoshop back then. Gorgeous,
Wow.
gorgeous cover.
I'm not
100%
sure that
agree.
they were. I think those are her
No.
eyes.
So again, as our guest, what would you like to talk about first from the magazine, Michael?
Well, first of all, since I'm kind of new to the vintage fashion, let's be totally clear here, folks. I am new to fashion. Period. When it comes to fashion magazines, though I try to be fashionable,
It's a nice
I do
shirt
my
you're wearing. I
best.
can see that, yeah.
yeah, oh, sure. So and nobody else can see it, but you guys can. The thing is, I try my best. I don't think there's an age on fashion. I think that you can be young, you can be old, and you can still look amazing. Simple as that.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
glamour does, for lack of a better word, glamify or glorify even the younger, pretty model, and that's what I see. I see a young, pretty, blonde, dirty blonde, maybe brunette, dyed her hair blonde because she has brown. Now, who am I looking at again? Can you
Oh,
help
this
me
is
out?
Kim Alexis. Do you remember
Kim?
her from back in the day?
No, but I wish I did. I wish I did.
She was on a lot of covers.
Now, wasn't she originally from Buffalo, New York? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Buffalo. Sure, sure. Yeah, home of the wings. Yeah,
Awesome.
and the buffalo wing was actually invented in Buffalo, New York. A lot of
That's right, at the
people.
Anchor Bar.
Yep, that is 100% right. And I was just there 2 years ago, before COVID, of course, and ate those wings, and they were pretty terrible. But you know
Really?
what?
'Cause we love them.
Yeah,
We
they
love
were
them.
they were
And
overcooked.
also, if we'd known you, we could have met you.
That's right.
Ah, that's right. We were so close. We were
We
so
were.
close.
That close.
But aside from the cover, was there anything that you saw that perhaps in the magazine that you want to comment on that resonated with you?
Well, I'd have to be inside the magazine to see that. Yeah.
Okay. So there's an article that I wanted to talk to you about.
Oh, these are
actually.
from that magazine.
Yes, they are.
Guy, your listeners are listening and like, does this guy have
audience,
any
we
clue?
sent him the photos, we swear.
Yeah, full disclosure, fans. I have literally 18 photos here, not knowing that they all spanned from this one magazine.
Yeah,
So
we
now
decided to send him random
I
photos.
just
Why not?
I just thought he
Okay.
sent me random photos to look. So now I want to deep dive, and I want to start with Moisture Whip by Maybelline. New Moisture Whip Natural Plus brings out your natural glow. Whatever
So-
that is. I don't even know what that is. I never had it.
So, does that model look familiar to you?
She did. She has a huge familiarity, but I didn't know who I was looking at. I think you told me. And who was it?
The original Wonder Woman, Linda Carter.
Bingo, Wonder Woman, Linda Carter from
Isn't she
TV.
gorgeous?
She used to come on TV after this, I want to say, the $6 million man.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good memory.
Yeah. I know, really, considering all the drugs and alcohol I just mentioned. Apparently, I remember television. Yeah, I love the $6 million man. That funny, weird sound effect that nobody can reproduce. Yeah, and then she'd come on, and she was HOT, and she's beautiful
That's hot,
here.
by the way, for those of you who don't know how to spell, it's hot. Go on.
and I'm trying to be respectful for she's a
Yes.
well-known, well-respected 75. How old do you think she is now?
She's probably in her mid 70s, is my guess.
Probably.
Yeah, and she probably you could. Here's the one thing I gotta say. This is really important for your listeners, and I hope everybody agrees with me on the show. Your listeners, the eyes never change, regardless of age. Your eyes never change, and she had striking eyes. And I don't care if she's 70, 80, 90. You'll still see the same eyes. I'm talking the eyeball, folks. I'm talking the eye color, just the shape that never goes away. That's why you always see beauty in your significant other. You just have to look into their eyes. That's it. And you'll see that person you married, that person you fell in love with.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think you must have been an optometrist in another life, Michael.
Well, I dabble in optometry, poked a couple eyes, but no. So I'm looking at this ad and I see a very nice blurred background, great photo shot. It looks like there was some wind coming from the right. She's wearing what looks like, I think she was out on a fishing excursion. She's not looking to look sexy and pretty. She's trying to show you that, look, I could be out in the wilderness. I'm roughing it up on the ocean. If you look to the left, you can see a boat. You can see oars. She's basically telling you, look, ladies, you can go and you can and do adventurous things, and this makeup ain't gonna move off your face.
That's very astute.
Yeah, that's a really good observation.
And
I think.
actually, the headline is New Moisture Whip Natural Blush brings out your natural glow. So she's out and about in nature. So
Yeah.
So, and if you don't have Moisture Whip by Maybelline, you could be pregnant because that'll bring out your natural glow as well.
That is a good point. Maybe it's in the ad somewhere in the reverse
small print.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, for sure.
But
But
that's a really
it-
good observation.
It blows my mind because we're going back 35, how many years? 35 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can still buy, as far as I know, you can still buy Maybelline products. And I want to say that they still use the trademark Moisture Whip on some of their products. I could be
think
wrong.
so. Yeah.
But I've seen it. I've seen it at the Target, or Target, as they call it in Canada, I think. And it's really it just blows my mind. And then I'm looking at the photo, and I think I made a comment earlier, and I'll say it now, that she looks like a nowadays she'd be considered a plus model.
Yeah, it could be. I
Which
mean,
is
it's
so
true.
crazy because she's so far from plus.
I know.
But
I
yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
But we're just so critical now. If you're over 90 pounds, you're plus. Simple as
Yeah.
I
that.
mean, look at Marilyn Monroe, for sure she'd be a plus size model.
She would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael, I wanted to talk about an ad that I saw that I thought you might be interested in.
Hmm.
It was an ad for Max Factor.
Okay.
And it was actually a black and white picture of Carol Lombard.
Oh, yes. Oh, oh yeah.
So do you remember anything about Carol Lombard or her career at all?
Doesn't matter.
So for our listeners, Carol Lombard was, I don't know if she was discovered by Max Factor, but Max Factor was the makeup artist to the stars back then. And he won, I believe, several Academy Awards, if I'm not mistaken. But what's really interesting about Carol Lombard is that she was married to Clark Gable at the time of her death. In fact, she was previously married to William Powell. And what I associate with William Powell is Get Smart. Now, you may remember Get Smart from the 60s.
Oh, very well.
You can associate anything with Get Smart.
That's true.
It's like 2 degrees of separation from anything you're talking about.
But what's interesting about Get Smart is that he had this famous clipped type way of speaking. And he'd say, well, Chief, I'm sorry about that. And that was really based on William Powell.
Wow.
So what happened, though, with Carol Lombard, she was married to Clark Gable. And during the war, she was trying to raise money for war bonds. And unfortunately, the plane that she was in crashed, and she perished.
Oy.
And Clark Gable never got over her death, and he drank heavily, really up until he died, I believe, in 1960. So very tragic, but very cool that they're using her picture, beautiful picture. I'm not sure who the photographer was.
Actually, I think the photo was taken by this Ken Galenti.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
It's from a Ken Galenti collection. It doesn't necessarily specify that was the photographer. It could have been somebody that just collated all these images. But I'm going to guess that if you look up Ken Galenti, you're going to find that this is his photo.
Right.
Yeah, probably.
But-
I absolutely love this photo. I mean, I was almost saving the best for last, but you brought it up, and it's incredible. I think it would be incredible.
For sure.
It
Yeah.
really is. Absolutely. It's frameable.
Actually, yeah, it's
page
printing
two.
on my printer right now, and I'll be pinning it up right over my my album behind me in my photo here. But
And I don't know if you noticed, Michael, but page 2 is Jacqueline Smith for Max Factor. That's page 2.
One of Charlie's Angels.
Big actress.
Oh, of
Beautiful
course.
lady.
Of course, yeah. Again, yeah, that was great. That was a great series too, by the way. Watch that one as well.
And
Yeah.
there's a caption, Max Factor, the glamour goes on.
And that's so true.
Yeah.
That's great. We're going to continue looking at this magazine. We're just going to take a brief break so you can hear Michael Maione's spot for Micro Break Podcast. We'll be right back.
Hello, friends. This is Michael J. Maione, the host of Micro Break, the podcast for humans with the attention span of a goldfish. Join me each week as I share my thoughts, wisdom, and humor on a wide range of topics, all delivered unscripted and loosely edited. You never know what you're going to hear, but you can be sure it'll be honest. Streaming right now on your favorite podcast player.
So, Michael, the next layout we want to talk about is, I don't know what page it's on. Stephanie, do you know?
It's a Clairol ad. No, I do not. It's a Clairol ad. Now, do you happen to recognize this model at the top of the page?
Yeah, actually, she looks another beautiful model. I don't recall who I'm looking at, but it does say Linda at the top left. Is that the photo we're looking at?
So, yes. And they have credited her as Linda, but it's actually Kathy Ireland.
Okay. Oh,
Kathy
my
Ireland.
goodness.
And I actually confirmed this with her a few years ago because this is what I do. I reached out to her on Twitter and I said, is this actually you? And she said, yes. And they didn't use her real name, but this is Kathy Ireland.
Why
Well,
would
it's pretty
they
interesting
not?
if you had to use an alias.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, the face is so recognizable. I mean, I'm terrible with names, so you can't go by Michael in Jersey. but I can tell you right now, that face is so recognizable. That photo in particular, you see it all the time. You've seen it. I think you've seen it in movies, this actual ad. Because when I saw it, I immediately recognized it. Why would I immediately recognize this photo?
It's possible. But this is 1985, and I'm not sure exactly when she started her career. Maybe maybe she's a new model here.
I think this was before. I mean, I think that she was already established that time.
Okay.
I remember she was a Sports Illustrated swimsuit model. I think she started off in the early 80s, actually. So
that makes more sense. Yeah. So you had me at swimsuit. I'm a typical guy. I think your listeners know that by now. I'm just a male, period. I put the M in male.
Yeah.
we saw, actually, Michael, it's interesting because we saw in a previous episode where Kim Alexis was advertising for, I forget what product it was, and they had her quote unquote aunt
Ultima 2.
Ultima 2.
Yeah.
With her mom and her aunt Pat or something like that.
Yeah.
And
an aunt.
And an aunt in quotation marks. So it was not her aunt. Probably wasn't even her mother. But it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So here is Kathy Ireland pretending to be Linda.
Linda. Just Linda. No last name. Who says you can't be noticed without being stared at? Look what Frost and Tip did for me. What is Frost and Tip? Comes with absolutely everything you need to make these highlights look just right.
Yeah.
I thought they were
talking it's a highlighter. Yeah, now I get it.
It's interesting.
I still don't get it.
Because it's a beautiful blue background, but having her identified though as what was her name again?
As
Linda?
Linda.
Yeah, that was interesting.
And the thing is that you're featuring a known model with a known audience. You would think they would use her name, but maybe they weren't allowed to.
Yeah.
Maybe she didn't allow it or her people didn't allow it.
Yeah. So I want to bring everyone's attention to a great section. One of my favorite sections of any magazine is beauty questions because I happen to be an expert. And this is on page 102. So Michael, you look like you're a beauty expert as well. So let me ask you your opinion on some beauty questions that some people had. In fact, this one was from Quebec. And the question is this: I've been plucking my eyebrows for years. Now, lately, I've noticed that my brows are so slow in growing back that they're actually getting thin in some spots. So what can I do to get things back to normal? What would your advice be, Michael?
These are eyebrows?
Yeah, they're plucking them so much that the hair is growing back too slowly. So the eyebrows are getting thin. What would you recommend?
Well, that's great. I actually, as a man, I actually do pluck my eyebrows. And I always worry that whatever I'm plucking, because plucking is like pulling it literally all the way out from the root.
Right.
And you would expect that it would not grow back in the same spot. But ironically, they grow back constantly. And that's why plucking is a thing.
Right.
So she's saying that by plucking too much, she's getting thinner.
Yes, in some spots. So
it's a woman thing, actually, that you can overpluck your eyebrows and sometimes the hairs don't grow back. That's why you see women penciling in eyebrows, especially
and that's exactly what I would have said. So using an eyebrow pencil, the right color, and I'm a big fan of subtle makeup. I will say this, full disclosure, I do not like a lot of makeup. I think a beautiful woman looks best when she just wakes up in the morning. And I don't mean she went to bed with a full head of makeup either.
Yeah, well, that certainly is true for Stephanie. She's definitely a natural beauty in that sense.
Thank you.
I have some better advice, I think. What I would do for me is I would take the hair that grows out of my ears and I would glue it onto my eyebrows.
You didn't.
I honestly, I think that
he went there. He went there, Stephanie.
Oh my God.
Let's go to the next question.
Let's skip this one.
I thought it was great advice. You should hear some of my other ones. I just started a running program, 30 minutes, 3 times a week in the morning. I'm confused about what to eat before I exercise. If I eat my usual breakfast, I get stitches and cramps. But if I skip breakfast, I lack energy and tire easily. What's the best compromise for me? Michael, what is the best compromise? What would you say?
First question I have is, what is your usual breakfast?
Whatever it is, it's probably, I'm guessing, oatmeal, let's say bananas, whatever it is. That's a typical breakfast, I would think, for most people, maybe some toast. What would you recommend?
So we don't know. We don't know what this typical breakfast is.
Okay.
What if
So
it's a breakfast burrito? What if it's an omelet? It's something heavy. I would say eat something lighter, but eat something. I have 2 hard-boiled eggs in the morning. It doesn't slow me down, but it certainly gives me enough energy to get me to a mid-morning snack. I would take your breakfast and I would split it up. I would have your portion of your breakfast early, and I would have the rest of that breakfast later in the morning, but before lunch. Call it brunch.
That is excellent advice. I have slightly different advice. So,
Slam that one. Oh, okay.
Go ahead. Yes, this is good advice, though.
You're going to use your ear hairs, and you're going to eat those for breakfast.
That could work, possibly, if you put some vanilla on it. No, what I would do, basically, if I want to run 30 minutes 3 times a week, I'd probably eat like an obscene amount of bran. And then when you get outside, you are going to run. You're going to run faster than any time you've ever run in your life to get to the bathroom. So I think that if you have a ton of bran, you'll be running one way or the other. Let's go for our last question.
He just slides right over these answers and moves on.
Here's the last one from CM from Denver, Colorado.
Okay.
The skin on my elbows and knees is a much darker color than the rest of my skin. In the summer, these areas get even darker. I've been using a fade cream for a few weeks, but so far I see no difference. Do I need something stronger? Michael, take it away.
Yes, you do need something stronger. Put the top up on your convertible and you'll be fine.
Okay.
That's it. That's all I got.
Okay.
That's reasonable.
That's reasonable advice.
Yes.
I would suggest using bleach. Bleach. Yeah, bleach is really good at making the darkness go away. I think that we are all white, or liquid paper. Liquid paper, by the way, folks, I've mentioned this in the past, cures all ills. Like you've seen my big fat Greek wedding Windex for them. For me, it's liquid paper. So
liquid paper, is that whiteout? Are you talking about whiteout, Marley?
Yeah, the one and only.
So did you ever look up where whiteout was invented and by who?
It was by Michael Nesmith's mother. And she invented it, I believe, it was around 1954. And she sold the company in 1975. So
Mike Nesmith of the Monkees.
That's right.
Yes, of course. I know who that is. Good. And what state was that invented in?
Well,
founded
from Texas.
Texas. Okay.
So the wonderful state of Texas. Anyway, so for our fans who are listening, our listeners, you're welcome. And thank you to Michael as well.
And don't try this at home.
Hey. So to finish off, we have one more article, or one more layout, that is. And Steph, would you like to describe it for us?
Absolutely. Let's turn to the photo of Swatch watches. It's an editorial photo. Do you have that, Mike?
I could definitely find it. I need to go back. I was kind of hoping for this one in the evening negligee.
Oh, let's do that one. Yes, let's do that one. Yes.
Yeah, but that tells you where my mind is. I can relate to Swatch watches as well because I'm sort of a watch connoisseur, not a connoisseur, a collector. So I can kind of relate to that. And I am looking at that ad as well. So how about we spend half the time on the watches and let's get right into the negligee.
We should have photoshopped a Swatch watch on her.
Did you have a Swatch?
I have gotten very close to ordering Swatches in the past. I did not order a Swatch because it was just, they're too small for my wrist, I think. Even though I don't have a very big wrist, I'm not a big fan of a small, dainty watch. I think they look better on a woman or maybe a younger man. The Spirited watches listed in this article in 1985, what blows me away the most about this ad is the price point on these watches. Blows my mind. I have more than that laying around on the floor right now. Then these Spirited watches, $17 to $40. These watches now would be at least $100, $150.
Michael, I actually Googled it, and they start at $90 US.
So you're close.
Very close. Yes. So the
very basic one is $90.
The last Swatch, the last Swatch watch store I was in the airport in Newark, New Jersey. They have a Swatch store. So I stumbled in there and I saw all these beautiful watches. I mean, they look beautiful from afar, and you get closer, they get smaller. And yes, there's Swiss movements, but my goodness, the price changes over the years just blows my mind.
Right.
But let's take your suggestion and turn to this lingerie layout that we sent you.
Let's.
Okay. So,
So
does
let's
she
go
look
back.
familiar, this model?
So if we're talking about the same one, the ad is in the top right and it says play out your fantasies. Daring or demure?
Well, this is the one where she's
Yeah.
wearing like a white negligee. Is that what you're looking at?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
That is
so
the
it's
one.
actually an editorial.
It's an
And
editorial.
this
Okay.
is a very well-known model. But this is right before she got really famous.
I am not really good at this. Do not give it away. But I'm looking in the veil that she's wearing. She has a veil on her head. I'm looking in the veil and I see a very popular beauty mark above the lip.
Yeah.
Right?
And that is what's leading me to the name that is just on the tip of my tongue. I'm going to go, I could be wrong, but I'm going to say Christy Brinkley.
Close.
It's actually, can I tell you?
Yes, you can tell
It's
me now.
actually Cindy Crawford.
Cindy Crawford, that was the other name I was going to pick.
What with the
Yes.
What's the matter with you, Michael?
And there's actually 3 pages that I sent. But yeah, it's Cindy Crawford. Right before she hit it big. First Vogue cover was the following year, 1986.
Wow. This picture, I will say, first of all, she's stunning. I'll give her that. I mean, right down to the gloves. Now, you know that the average woman in this day and age is not going to wear silk white gloves with her outfit. She's like, screw the gloves. We don't need gloves. But in this photo, I believe, in my opinion, it's beyond its years. That when I look at this photo, and if you didn't tell me what year that this was printed, I would not believe it. I would say, I don't know, 2010, 2015. This is 1985, right?
Right.
Yeah, and I completely agree. It's timeless. It could be any year. It looks very current.
Now, Steph, I don't claim to know much about models. In fact, I claim to know almost nothing about models, but is it my imagination, or does she look a little bit like Gia Karanji in this picture?
She does. And that's how she started her career, because people in the fashion industry thought that she looked like Gia.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So
No kidding. No kidding. Well, if you can look like Gia, you'll have a career in this business.
Yeah.
do you know who Gia is?
I know a couple of Gias. Tell me your Gia, and let me see if I was thinking of the same.
Karanji. And she's actually, I think, from your neck of the woods, because she was from Philly. Are you near Philly?
I am. I'm about 40 minutes away.
And she was, of course, there was a famous movie, Gia, that starred Angelina Jolie.
Then it was the same one. Yes, but here's the thing. Angelina Jolie, for me, shadows Gia. I'm
Right.
sorry.
Yeah.
I have, and here's a blast from the past name as well. Nastasha Kinski.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Cat
Model
People
turned
was
actress.
the movie.
Very beautiful.
Beyond gorgeous. So I love reading these because I'm really big with literature and play out your fantasies, daring or demure, and the suggestive inspiration of lace. And then it shows you the picture. Trying on the wedding night dream, center stage. And you can see this is American because center is spelled CENTER. So it's not Canadian.
No, definitely not.
Stage and lace trimmed teddy that feels special any day. It gets better, folks. Olga Nylon and Ogalore Teddy, $34.
Those were the days.
Yeah.
So, Steph, if people are interested in this layout, this magazine, and some of the ads, how can they find them?
Well, they can visit my eBay or Etsy store. The name is Great Mags, GR number 8 MAGZ.
And what is the last letter in the Irish language? I'm just kidding. We have a lot of listeners from Ireland. We love you guys. But where else can they find you?
By the way, we also have an Instagram page. It's uncovered_VFMR. And you can also email us
at uncoveredpodcast@yahoo.com. And we're also on Twitter. which is Uncovered VFMR as well. So, Michael, if people want to get a hold of you, how can they find you?
Well, I'm in New Jersey. Let me give you my address. It's
Great idea.
that only works in Marvel movies.
Right.
So that was a Marvel reference. You guys can figure it out there, listeners. So yes, you can actually find me. I have a pod page as well, but anywhere you listen to podcasts, you want to search Micro Break, and you can do all caps. I think it comes up quicker for some oddball reason, but Micro Break, 2 words. And you can also follow me on Twitter at micro_break. And there I will interact with you on a consistent basis. I love to have a 2-way conversation. So if you go there to my Twitter page, and then you'll see a link up there to my pod page, you'll get all the other links to all the other social media, and then you can follow the podcast. And I promise you will have a great time.
So, Michael, thank you for joining us. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Are you kidding me? I was blessed to be a part of this show. You guys are awesome. You're so friendly. I can talk to you for days on end, and I really appreciate being here.
Well, we love having you as a guest, and we look forward to listening to your podcast when we have 15 minutes to spare. And again, for our listeners, we definitely encourage you to check out Micro Break Podcast. And Michael, you have a lot of interesting guests yourselves and a lot of great topics. And that's what I really love about your show as well. It's not just one theme. You talk about anything and everything. So it really is for everybody.
The Everything Show.
Yeah.
Check it out, guys.
Yeah, we try to encompass everything. And the main thing is to point out, and if you can leave this in, I appreciate it. The main thing to point out is that it's lighthearted. I appreciate the crises in the world and that and politics and so forth, but I try to keep it lighthearted. I don't like to be strong opinionated. As a matter of fact, I've done an episode on opinions. They're like, you know what, and they all stink. Yeah. So I try to keep it fun. It's a break. That's the point of Micro Break. Micro meaning short, break meaning break from all the crap going on in the world. I want you guys to have a good time, maybe learn something, and then tell your friends. Also, if I may, I've also started a YouTube channel, and right now it was mostly just the audio version of the podcast being put up on the YouTube channel, but I am now starting to do videos, and I'm calling those Micro Break Raw, where whatever's on my mind, whatever is troubling me, bothering me, I want to talk about, or if I just want to talk about an upcoming episode or a past episode, I'm going to put out a very, very short video, well under the 15-minute Micro Break format, and you guys can actually go and watch me there and see me, see this.
Perfect.
Yeah. So that's something new. I just started, and the pilot went out a few days ago. So again, if you follow me on Twitter, or you can go now to YouTube, look for Micro Break Podcasts, and you'll be good to go on Operation Get 'Em.
So Michael, thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank
it was
you.
A lot of fun. And for the rest of you listening, if you're still there, just kidding. We'll catch you next time.
You better be kidding.
Thank you for listening to Uncovered Vintage Fashion Magazine Review Podcast.
Uncovered was produced by Morley Schulman, with music by David Renda and logo design by Alan Lipman.
So remember, if you liked Uncovered, be sure to tell 2 friends about it.
And they'll tell 2 friends.
And so on, and so on, and so on.